Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Firefly Chats, the show where we talk all things The Last of Us. Since our debut episode, there has been an absolute cavalcade of news regarding just about every Last of Us project we know about at the moment. So, joining me once again to talk about them today is the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Ben Woods. Ben,
Hello.
how is it going?
It's going very well. Thank you for having me back. The
Absolutely,
second
man.
episode. Wow.
I
It's an
know, yeah,
honor.
we're doing all right, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is nobody I would rather have here with me today than
Oh,
yourself. Oh, I know, yeah.
making me
So
blush.
it's funny. We were only talking like 9 days ago or so, but like, oh, when we do another episode, and like all that really happened was the casting update for the HBO series, and like as if we willed it into existence, there has just been a stream of news regarding the series since then. So plenty to talk about today. Just before we start, I'll have a look at the chat. Peter from Triple G Comics, all right, and that is it. He is he's solo today, so hopefully get a few people in as we go. But for the moment, so
Well, welcome anyway.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I guest on his channel pretty frequently. We have a monthly show called What If, where we all pitch like ideas for like new versions of superheroes and stuff. So it's a cool one. And
I
we
love it.
have one starting on the, I think, the 25th. It's called Boys and Their Toys.
Okay.
So we we'll be I would hope so, yeah. Support, you know. But yeah, we're going to be talking about like action figures and stuff like that. I think the first episode's about hot toys. So I'll show off my Spider-Man and whatever. So right, so we get to the news anyway.
Let's go.
So the first bit of news we had now, as I said, a casting update.
Well, can I just give a quick intro to it?
Yes.
News. There we go.
So
you
first
should actually
up,
clip that. Make that your little make it a little on soundboard there.
A little yeah, that would be that would be a good one, right? So first up,
Let's go.
Nick Offerman, best known as Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec, has been cast as Bill in the Last of Us HBO series. Now, what's interesting about this, in our first episode, if anybody watching may remember, we went over the cast and we already had an actor for Bill. So his name was Con O'Neill. So he has dropped out, I believe, due to scheduling conflicts.
Interesting.
And has been replaced by Nick Offerman. Now, the interesting thing about this is that they announced that Offerman was joining before saying that Con O'Neill left.
Yes.
So when I saw this casting, I got really excited because my assumption was that he was David.
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been absolutely stellar casting. Now, he does quite suit Bill. Bill's sort of this kind of dry wish, hates life, kind of pessimistic character, and I think Ron Swanson sort of encapsulates quite a lot of that. So I think it's perfect for that. But again, interesting that we still don't have a David for the show. And I think he Offerman can kind of, I think he would be quite good playing a character like that, where he initially comes off as quite kind and caring, and
as David.
And have that kind of dark turn. But regardless, he's playing Bill.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you you brought up that he'd be more suited to play David. He's a dead ringer for Bill.
I don't think he's more suited, but I was happy at the idea that he was cast as David.
You also
brought up. I think if you had said Nick Offerman in The Last of Us, I'd be like, who could he play? Bill. So it's the first thing you would think of, absolutely.
And it's also interesting that you brought him up, introduced him by playing Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, wherein he's been in Deadwood. He was in.
Haven't seen it.
21
Jump
Bad Times at the El Royale.
Bad Times. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm saying like he does dramatic roles like.
Oh, 100%. But like Swanson, well, like this is the role that, like a serious version of that, I think is what they're gonna go for. But like, no offense to Con O'Neill, but I don't know him like really at all.
Yeah, his face is familiar, but
yeah, I'm more excited about this now. I have like an idea of how that will look and the kind of the tone he's gonna go for. It is something like I love. Before this, I loved Nick Offerman. I've actually seen him live. I went with my girlfriend. Very funny. Like, he does stand up as well.
Yeah.
But he seems like almost the kind of actor that you wouldn't expect would go for something like this.
How do you mean?
Do you know, like I think a good like parallel would be something like Bill Burr in Star Wars,
Someone in
where he would think like I would just get the vibe that he thinks like video games are stupid and
okay. Yeah.
wouldn't take it seriously, like in the way that I would think Bill Burr hates Star
Yeah, yeah.
Wars, so it's just
Yeah.
interesting.
But I think even outside of video games, of the video game like culture, The Last of Us is known to be a sort of prestigious title.
Yeah,
Like it's
definitely.
respected amongst like even people who dislike video games.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm curious if maybe they wanted him originally, and he wasn't
Yeah.
able to do it because there were scheduling conflicts, and because they had to push his filming, that he became available. So because he's just such a solid, not even solid, like just fantastic, like suits it so
Mhm.
well. Like that's probably the most spot on. Like
Yeah.
you would think of him for that role that we've had.
Yeah. And then like out of the whole entire cast, he's probably the most known. Maybe Pedro Pascal, but
I would say Pedro just because of like the Mandalorian and Game of Thrones and
and
stuff,
Game of
but
Thrones.
Nick
Yeah,
Nick
yeah,
Offerman certainly like
yeah.
way second, definitely, yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So, um, shortly after that, I'm going to take you on a little journey of how the week went in terms of news.
Take me.
Um, a crew member from the Last of Us series uh, tweeted this photo. So I will get it up now if I can navigate this. Yes, here we go. So tweeted this photo, right?
Yes.
No, or I think it was on Instagram actually. Now you can tell that they're a crew member because it says The Last of Us season 1. So first off, it says season 1. So that's confirmation that we are getting multiple seasons. Now I know that's something we could assume, but
Mhm.
that's it's effectively confirmed now. But there is a lot of speculation in the background. You see, people have kind of clocked that this is like a shopping center, a mall, and the kind of the rumblings is that this is the mall from Left Behind.
Yes.
Now we haven't gotten any kind of indication from set photos or anything that so far that Left Behind is going to be included, but I think it's a fair assumption. And the only reason to think maybe it wouldn't be is because we don't have a Riley cast yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. We might get Left Behind in it.
Well, just to bring up something we talked about last episode, with including elements from the DLC Left Behind,
Yeah.
and I think that we're going to be getting Last of Us 2 as well, flashbacks.
In the first season.
Well, the flashbacks that were in Last of Us 2 being with Abby and stuff.
Yeah, like I think I could certainly see like Abby and Jerry, her dad, being like introduced. I think Jerry, you have to, because he is in the original game, but like to kind of emphasize his importance in it. But yeah, I could definitely see Abby being thrown. And that like a lot of people aren't happy with 2, of course. No, I don't think a majority, but I think a lot of people certainly aren't. So maybe it would be a good thing to kind of retool that story. And you have an opportunity now with hindsight to lay seeds.
Yeah, it would just make sense to put it all in. But what do you think about including Left Behind?
I mean, for me, it's a given. Like they should have to. Like I don't. Where do you put that otherwise?
Exactly. Yeah.
And as well as that, we know that the university sequence is in that, and at the end of that, Joel gets injured, and that's Left Behind takes place in between
Right.
that and the next scene where it's Ellie on her own. So yeah, I could almost picture that episode ending. I think it'll end exactly like that, and rather than being a flashback, it'll be the next episode. It'll be Ellie surviving, and we get the Left Behind stuff, and it reminds her of them all and all that. So yeah,
I can see that happening.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But again, no Riley casting, so I'm maybe it's a nobody.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it might be a nobody, but it wouldn't really make sense to just announce it yet because they're drip feeding news. Except for the last week, it's been drip.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this isn't official announcements; they're rumors, but not rumors in like the whole like clickbaity shit. It's like multiple sources saying this, so like it's as good as gold, So speaking of, anyway, on to the next topic. The Last of Us 2 multiplayer could be free to play with microtransactions. So this is interesting. It's microtrans. I'm just curious, what's your take on microtransactions just in general before we go into it?
It completely depends on how they're implemented. There's microtransactions if they're play to win or pay to win, then it's no good. But other than that, I'm okay with them.
Yeah, like my problem, like my problem with microtransactions is when you're not earning anything good unless you pay. Like even cosmetics. Like I think we've moved away now from paying for better weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like that's not really a thing anymore. I think kind of the loot boxes thing killed that really with the whole like Battlefront 2 fiasco and everything. But I've seen like recently, like now the first Last of Us does have sort of microtransactions. There's on the PlayStation Store, you can buy perks and stuff like that. But to my memory, now I haven't played Factions in a while, but to my memory, there was nothing like particularly hard to get. Like there's nothing you have to pay for. You can earn things fairly quickly, and Uncharted, I know from Naughty Dog as well, same kind of thing. Like nothing is unattainable. You don't have to put a ridiculous amount of hours. Yeah, exactly. Like my biggest problem is when there's items that you have to. When there's two different types of currencies.
Yes, the one you earn in game, the one you buy.
Exactly, and that's what I hate. So when you're just buying regular currency just to kind of like you're paying for effectively instead of playing two matches. I think that's fine. You have like shark cards in Grand Theft Auto where that's the thing. But a game that I've played recently, I talked about this on my last video. It's called Destruction All Stars. So it was the first kind of PS5 exclusive of last year, and it was, I think, absolutely ruined with microtransactions because you can't earn anything cool without paying for it. Like now, a lot of this stuff I wouldn't even bother anyway. Like I think the default look is better, but like anything that's even remotely intricate, like aside from a color swap, you have to pay money, and not just money. It's like $4 or €5 for one skin. It's just egregious.
Did you say that? Is this game free to play or do you buy it?
No, so it's a complicated thing. Originally, it was a 70 quid like launch title, and they pushed it to February, and it was February and March's free PS Plus game.
Okay, I see.
And then
to get it now, you have to buy it.
Yeah, but it's 20 now. But it's like when it came, it was structured. I can't imagine it would have been like that if you had paid full price, but it's structured like a free to play game. And I can't stand that. Like I on the topic of like free to plays, I prefer just paying the money up front and there's no bullshit in it.
Yeah. Well, do you have any further things on the actual Last of Us? Because I have thoughts, but it's more to do with how it could be implemented.
Yeah, well, the leak, the free to play thing is kind of just internet, of course. The free to play thing is just speculation, but the microtransactions is from a job listing. It's like a in-game economy director.
Okay.
And it's for an upcoming multiplayer game, so we know that that's Factions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on it are, because it's a standalone title.
Yeah.
And if it's free to play, then monetizing it is fine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. My problem is that because originally wasn't the idea that the news that it was supposed to be in The Last of Us 2, but it was too ambitious and too big.
Yes, that's the story that we were told. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it had been included in Last of Us 2 as a multiplayer like component, and it was also free to play, like because that happens now, like with Call of Duty or Halo Infinite, then that's a problem monetizing it. Because if you pay for a full package and you get the multiplayer included, and then you're sort of penalized by monetization, even though you paid the full price for the game, that's the problem. But if it's a standalone release that's free, then it's fine. If you're paying for it, let's say it's 20 quid to buy the standalone multiplayer, then you shouldn't be able to monetize it. even for cosmetics.
Well, you have games that are like full price multiplayer games that you can pay for stuff in them. Like I can't think of them. Like maybe aside from, I know Ghost of Tsushima Legends didn't have any microtransactions at all, but
Mm.
like I'm okay with them. Like you can skip a few matches, but when it's just all this like bullshit, and to be honest, I don't understand the idea behind making it free to play, because The Last of Us is such a big IP that I feel like you're just leaving money on the table there. You don't have to make that free for people to want to play it. It's going to sell ridiculous amounts anyway.
Yeah, but you see, free-to-play games can make more than full-price games.
Oh, they certainly do, but they have their own kind of share of backlash. Like there's a certain, and like The Last of Us, like you said earlier, there's a level of prestige with that series that going into free to play bullshit. And a lot of the time, the stuff you buy is like taunts and silly guns and stuff, and I don't want any of that in this at all.
Well, because what do you think it will be? Because I have
factions.
Yes, because I have my idea. If it is free to play, how it would work.
Yeah, well, if it's free to play, I'm almost less interested in it. Like I'll still play it, but not that. It'll be a few matches. I've never played a free to play game that I stuck with, like for more than 5 hours.
But that's the thing. If you're paying for it, it's fine. But if you're just like playing it like for fun, like I played maybe 2 or 3 hours of Fortnite, and I'm like, oh, this is fun, but I didn't get sucked into it. It still made its money, and I still had a good time.
Yeah, but like, for me, Fortnite, I took like put it in, put it on. I walked 5 steps, got shot dead like immediately.
Yeah.
I said, "Fuck this! This isn't for me." And I had the exact same thing with Call of Duty Blackout.
Warzone.
Or Warzone, yeah, sorry, not Blackout. But yeah, on that topic, like free to play and battle royale kind of go hand to hand.
Yeah,
they're using the same breath. And free to play games often have a battle royale element. Now, in concept, I really love the idea of battle royale, and I think even I remember before it was even PUBG and Fortnite kind of popularized that genre. But I remember when I was younger thinking it would be cool, like a last man standing game with like hundreds of players. But like in practice, I have yet to find a battle royale that I enjoy.
Right. Well, I mean, even if it's like free to play, doesn't necessarily mean it's a battle royale game.
Yeah, but battle royale is kind of in all of the publications reporting on this. Like the word battle royale is being thrown in there as well. So I think that's kind of in the rumor mill.
But also, battle royale doesn't have a set definition. It could just be a standard 6, like last one standing with 12 players.
Yeah, well, most factions games are a last man standing. Like I think you have like 4 lives, and it comes down to the last person. But The Last of Us is a series that suits, I think, that.
Oh, more than anything.
Idea. Yeah, like a survival. It's about survival. So like
and scavenging.
Yeah, and I think this would be the one that I would be into. And I would proper practice until like I won a game, and then I consider my life a success at that stage.
Yeah.
But what's your idea anyway for factions?
Right. So I'm not really like leaning towards the battle royale. I think if there is a battle royale, it'll be like a simple, like we're seeing on screen now, like 66 in a small map. It doesn't even have to be a big map, and you're just scavenging like parts.
Yeah.
Much like the actual original game. But what I think the factions is going to be is it's going to be a big update on the meta narrative. I think that's what the whole thing's going to be.
Okay.
So I think what microtransactions are going to be in it are going to be cosmetics, and not like silly ones. I think they're going to take it seriously, and you're going to essentially make your survivor group. For example, you could pick, let's say you could make up your own little meta narrative that you're a cult like Scars.
Yeah, I think Scars versus like those.
No,
Scars
but not even
versus
that.
Wolves
You can make up your own one. Like you could say, oh,
okay.
Let's say me and you and a couple of our friends, our narratives that we're ex soldiers or something,
Right.
and we buy the soldier pack,
Okay.
and we all get clothes that we could dress up like soldiers.
Yeah.
And here is where I think there's going to be big like aspect of monetization. I think you're going to get a hub world, sort of
Okay.
like in PUBG when you start the game, or even like in Red Dead Online when you start the game, you start in your camp.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna get like when you get the game, you're gonna get like 5, okay, like fun little like niche locations, like let's say a prison or school,
Yeah.
and that's your hub, and that's where you load the game. And this is where the meta narrative comes in. Remember in the first factions, it's sort of like the better you do, it goes, oh, your population's a bit higher, and you got like
Yeah.
shipments of stuff.
Exactly. You're gathering supplies and gathering
Yeah,
people.
I think there's. I think first you're going to be able to buy new like locations, and like State of Decay, you're going to be able to build up your outpost, your little base,
Yeah.
and you're going to be able to, let's say, there'll be like a someone you can buy stuff from in your little outpost, and you can buy dumb cosmetics like I want a guard dog. Doesn't do anything. It's just in your little base at the start, and
Okay.
then you can go to help you along in your meta narrative. You can go, oh, I'm gonna buy a shipment of food, and that'll just help your population. It doesn't hurt anybody. It
Yeah.
helps you. It just goes, oh, my population's doing a bit better. Or you can go, I want to buy a shipment of guns. Doesn't change the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
But your group does a bit better. You see what I mean?
I absolutely love
You
this
like that?
idea. Yeah, that sounds really.
That's
That
why I'm
sounds really.
thinking. That's why I'm thinking this could do well in free to play. If this is what you're doing, you're making the narrative better.
Yeah, and like what I always love in multiplayer when it is there's a story to it. Like it is a canon event in a world. That's why I love like there was this game on PS3 called Mag. Don't know if you remember that.
I do. The
massive action game, and it was
massive
like
action. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's a stupid name, but like yeah, that was really cool. 256 players, and there's 3 different factions, and you're fighting for control. And I thought that was awesome. And one thing that I hate about how multiplayer games work now, where you're buying pink guns and that kind of shit, and it just kind of takes me out of it. Like one reason I love Battlefront, and the only thing that takes me out of it is when like you have like Luke Skywalker fighting Yoda or fucking Darth Maul or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that takes me out of it. Like I love the immersion of it. So that idea where you're invested in your group, I think that's awesome. And yeah, the shit you buy is just little cosmetic stuff.
Just for your own little story that you're making.
Yeah, but just this idea of like soldiers, like you're creating your faction. I think that's really
because like do you remember in like it's sort of like Red Dead again. You can make your Red Dead Online. You make your cowboy
your posse.
Yeah.
That's
I
love that.
think that's why I think it's free to play is gonna work with if they go with that idea, and that's my idea. But I think it's sort of a natural progression because that was what sold the first factions was that meta narrative.
We have had leaked gameplay of factions, and it's using character models from the game.
Interesting.
So it's Mel in the clip. It's like 10 seconds. I don't want to play it because I don't know if I'll get a strike or something for it. But
yeah, I haven't seen this.
You're playing as Mel. You see someone playing as Mel and someone playing as Abby. My guess is that those are just placeholders.
Character model.
Yeah. Like I know in Uncharted, it's like you can have 5 Nathan Drakes and stuff running around, but I think there is a degree of immersion in like the first factions that I don't think they would take away.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of like creating your own little gang and having warehouse like bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just think it's the best way for them to implement monetization and not be looked down upon or look like they're greedy.
Yeah, well, like in fairness, like I said earlier, Uncharted implements microtransactions fairly well. The first game I don't really recall. I never even looked at what you could buy, so I know that there's the perk, but I don't remember it being intrusive to the game at all. But yeah, no, I really love that idea. I'd love to see that. Yeah, no, that's a good one.
We shall see.
Yeah,
what do you think it'll be if you had to guess?
So like free to play, I don't I guess it could happen. Like Sony's in desperate need of a first party multiplayer game. So like that idea you have, or something along those lines, I could definitely see being the thing to like a system seller, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's I really don't know what, like in what form, because we have several Last of Us things kind of happening. Like free to play, I would rather a box as well because I'm a collector, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, now free to play, maybe like a PS Plus thing where it comes out. But anyway, here's one thing it could be included in, and this also came out. And again, next step in the story is that a director's cut for part 2 is apparently on the way. Now, director's cuts is sort of the new moniker for remastered, effectively, that we've seen
Okay.
kind of lately. So Death Stranding had a director's cut last year, as did Ghost of Tsushima. So, like a director's cut, it's not just an upgrade, because you can buy a PS4 upgrade as well. It's not just a graphical thing. There's new content there.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm curious now, like, because that would be a thing where I could see them put factions in that, and you pay 10 quid when you have part 2 to upgrade to the director's cut, and you get factions with that.
Factions included.
Yeah, so if you have the PS4 version, because it's effectively the Last of Us 2 multiplayer.
Mm. Now you've played. Have you played any of those director's cuts you mentioned? That's
Ghost of Tsushima, absolutely adore. Yeah.
What was the difference?
Well, so Death Stranding, I know it's just there's a couple of little joke missions and a few new abilities and some guns and stuff like that. But Ghost of Tsushima, it was an entire expansion.
Yeah,
so it was like Icky Island. So it was like a standalone DLC thing. Not standalone. It was like a expansion pack.
Okay.
So there was a new storyline, new weapons, new armor, new location to explore, and all that. So like it was good, like 15 hours of meaningful content to it. Yeah. So like if Factions is free to play, then the director's cut would have to have something. So maybe like a Left Behind style thing. Now I did a video a little while back called What's Next for The Last of Us. I'll put the link in the description here, but I went over why I think Factions could be included, and if we got DLC, how that would happen. So my original theory was that Factions and a sort of like halfway between like Left Behind and, you know, like Lost Legacy and Shattered Lost Legacy, this kind of like 1.5 games.
Yeah.
Something like that would be packaged together and sold as a full price game, because that's, I think you could justifiably do that.
Yes.
But this talk of like director's cuts now, I'm not so sure, but that Factions will be included with that. But yeah, if Factions is free to play, I think we could get an expansion for 2 with the new storyline.
Well, I mean, because The Last of Us 2 was on PS4.
Yeah,
they could just as well say it's just The Last of Us 2, straight up standard, but just on PS5, and it would sell. So the fact that they're saying director's cut and implying that there could be some new stuff.
Well, there has to be new stuff, because that's the standard that they've set now. Like Death Stranding, there's a little bit, but Ghost of Tsushima is significant. Yeah, that's an expansion pack. So there's a few characters that you could follow in that. Now I went through my video if you want to watch that in more detail, but like Tommy, I think would make an excellent one, because that would be handy, because it recycles. You could recycle locations from part 2, because a lot of part 2, Ellie's side of it, you're just following Tommy's kind of wake. But like, you know, Yara and Lev, I think would be an interesting one. Isaac would be a good one as well. So
and
like, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, the fact that it's a story set over how many days? A week or 2?
Part 2.
Yeah, a week maybe.
Well, technically, which part? Because it's
the whole just
there's time jumps and stuff in it. So
yeah, the whole revenge.
Ellie's revenge, like 2 days.
Yeah, and the fact that you're following 6 or 7 different stories that are all like Pulp Fiction overlapping. You know.
Yeah.
Overlapping stories.
So I think that would be a cool one.
Yeah, there's a lot of
the Tommy one,
story you can see.
Yeah, the Tommy one I would be especially excited about, because I think you would do flashbacks to him and Joel.
Interesting.
And that's kind of a good way, because people were disappointed with how much Joel we didn't get much Joel in part 2. That would be a nice way to kind of give the fans
Yeah.
the goodbye sort of to that character. So that would be an
Yeah, I
interesting
like
one.
that. I could see that
Yeah.
happening.
So yeah, curious now. Director's cut, like I'll buy it, because I buy anything Last of Us. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see. Now that's apparently coming this year as well, as is apparently Factions. So, but before we move on to the next thing that is supposedly coming this year, I'll just have a look at the chat and see who is here. Marcus, Paper Starship, Deadwood was great. Every other word is fuck.
Yeah, Sir Engine.
Is that true?
That is true. Sir Engine.
Yeah. Bill Burr in The Mandalorian was a little weird.
Weird in the first episode, great in the second.
Oh, he was so good. Yeah, that was such a glow up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where he was just a throwaway the first time, and they really made him an amazing character next. Yeah. There's Luke from Hydra Collectibles. And Paper Starship. Death Stranding was just equipment to make it easier. Tsushima was legit. Yeah. So I don't see it just being a couple of extra weapons and stuff. Like if it's not Factions, it's a DLC thing, and that would really make this like the year of The Last of Us. So that'd be really cool to see. So,
but I think on that point of adding things, the fact that Last of Us 2 was a PS4 game and Ghost of Tsushima and they were PS5 games, so
yeah,
it could just be releasing it for PS5.
Well, no, because the
a little bit of an upscale.
The PS4, the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is the expansion, and then there's a PS5 upgrade that's separate.
Okay. Oh, so was Ghost of Tsushima on PS4?
Yeah, that came out before. That came out before the PS5 launched.
Oh, geez, where does the time go?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, yeah. So the last bit of news, and this will be kind of the last topic of the show, is that The Last of Us remake almost complete and is out this year. So again, this is kind of a thing that multiple sources are reporting on. What's your thoughts on this A Last of Us remake? Like, sort of, I may as well move to here. Does The Last of Us need a remake? What's your kind of stance on that now? Because I certainly have opinions.
Not right now.
Too soon?
Plain and simple. Too soon. Yeah. And also the fact that I think it's putting a hindrance on other projects that they could be working on.
That's exactly my problem. So, like, one, I think the original game holds up like incredibly well. Like, I would not look at that game and say, "Oh, the graphics aren't very good," even though it is. Next year. Another thing is that it's supposedly coming this year, which I get because the HBO series I think is this year. But next year's the 10-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that if you're going to do it like a full ground up remake, which apparently this is, that you would wait until then.
Yeah.
Like an anniversary thing. But no, like all of this is coming this year. And it's obviously, I think, to tie in with the show coming out. They want kind of to build hype.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But like you said, Naughty Dog is my favorite company. I have an entire wall effectively dedicated to Naughty Dog stuff like this, Uncharted and The Last of Us and all that. I cannot wait to see what they do next. And I think this is a waste of their time.
I do too.
Yeah. Like, it's just so unnecessary. I just don't understand. Like, it just feels like a money grubby thing.
Well, it's interesting that you say. I was about to bring that up. If the Last of Us Factions is free to play and they monetize it in a money grubbing way, it would almost line up that there's some sort of change in management there.
Yeah,
that it's leaning more towards monetization, especially releasing it all around this the launch of the show.
Yeah, not like the fact that this remake kind of the fact that it was happening leaked alongside like Days Gone 2 being cancelled.
Yeah.
As well. So like people already kind of out of the gate have a kind of why around this idea. Yeah. But it's just so unnecessary. Now I came across a headline the other day and I thought this is like absolutely ridiculous. Right, the rumored Last of Us remake could recast Joel and Ellie.
Okay, I don't know what
Now,
that means.
coming. You look at that, yeah. What would you think that this article is reporting?
I would say voice actors.
No, but you know, like, would you look at that and say, oh, like a developer said something, or
Like where the source came from.
yeah, but like, why is this being reported? Like, the rumored Last of Us remake could recast Joel and Ellie. What do you think that means, just from the headline?
That they're casting the actors.
Yeah, you would think that like a developer or something said we're thinking about it or something. This is
Yeah.
just somebody's opinion that like, oh, they could do that.
Oh well,
And it's just the most like clickbaity thing
yeah.
I've ever seen in my life.
Well, but wait, so who did they say? Who said this? Just
So this is just an opinion piece, but it's like look at the way it's Game Rant, which I know like Game Rant and Screen Rant both are very clickbaity places.
yeah.
But like just even it's the most bullshit. And I saw people sharing it as if it was like announced effectively.
Yeah.
I highly doubt they're even going. Like I know that it's a ground up remake, but I very highly doubt they're even going to bother re-recording
The audio.
like dialogue or cutscenes or do re-mocap. Because why? Like all that stuff is still fresh. You know, the technology hasn't really advanced
Yeah.
in terms of how you do that since then. Like I get it when it's a 20-year-old game and it sounds a bit distorted to refresh it. But like just the idea that you would go and like,
yeah.
oh, let's get new people in, like fuck Troy Baker and fuck Ashley Johnson and everything. It's absurd.
Everything about this is so baffling, though. I'm just so confused.
Yeah, you seem a bit shell shocked there.
I don't really know. Yeah,
The
I don't
fact
know.
that you would try and trick people, but
Yeah.
like, do you think? I know when it comes out, it's probably people are probably gonna like it because it's
I mean, I love it. Yeah.
yeah, but like there is certain things I would be concerned about, which is that, for example, and this we talked about this the last episode, but you have in part 2 this kind of remodel of Ellie that a lot of people didn't, including myself, weren't really fans of. So a remake would be doing that for all the characters.
Yeah.
So that's like losing its kind of aesthetic would be something I would be concerned about.
Well, if it was a complete remake, I would sort of expect a redesign.
Yeah, but like, would that be a good thing? Do you think? Because like this wasn't. I don't think.
And also, just like what we were saying earlier on, the first image looks like it could be released today.
Oh, 100%. Like that game.
Like, why are we remaking
still looks
this game?
beautiful. Yeah, but it's like I think I'd be more okay with it if it wasn't Naughty Dog, for one, because there's studios like Blue Point, for example, that do these kind of amazing ground up remakes. Or if The Last of Us was locked to PS3. Like there is a PS4 version that is, I believe, free if you have PS Plus if you get a PS5. I don't even think you need to get a PS5. I think it's just free to play. It's so readily available. Like, why would you bother? And like, are they going to charge full price for it?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I just had a horrid idea. That's not going to happen. But what if they remade the game, but used the look from the TV show actors?
Oh my god, that'd be hard. See,
It'd be interesting.
They couldn't do that. They just
no.
couldn't. I know, like no, you just can't do that. It's you just just the thought of that is horrifying. Like the show should be a separate thing.
Yeah, you need to make a reason why you're remastering it, and it's not just brushing up the graphics.
Yeah,
it could be like Resident Evil 2 maybe style remake.
But I don't even like remake. That's like a full remake where it's like just taking the rough outline of it and just building a new game effectively. This is like a ground up remake, but I think that the structure of it, like the cutscenes, I think are going to be identical. aside from some remodeling. Like the
Yeah, like
performances are going to be
bringing.
left intact, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, that would be the most curious because I think it will feel tighter. Like you'll have that kind of sense of flow that part 2 has, where like when you're running and you grab a bottle, it's not a little
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the first. I know in the first one it's slightly janky, like it'll move him to pick it up. Whereas when you're running by it, you just kind of grabs it and so like natural.
Mm.
But there's things that the second game introduces that you would have to kind of redesign levels around. So, for example, crawling through, like going prone.
Yeah.
You'll have to place cars in places that people can go, like you can go under tall grass and stuff like that. Like that requires, it's, I'd imagine like there's a domino effect where that would change this, that changes
Change.
that, that
Yeah.
changes that. You have to kind of redo the whole level effectively.
I'd be okay if that's all they do. If they do that and maybe put in Left Behind in where it would fit in the story and have like the ties that Last of Us 2 introduced.
Would you like Left Behind to be like
Spliced
weaved
in.
in?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm curious how that would go because that's actually how I play. The last time I played through everything, I the last two or three times actually, I stop. I do that exactly. I stop when Joel gets injured, and I go and play Left Behind, and then I go back to it. So actually, that is quite a good idea. I think.
Just make it perfect. Perfect like segue into The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, and then you can remodel Jerry, so it looks like Jerry, or you can.
And a lot of times when remakes come out, or more so remasters, it's to get people pumped for the third one or the next game. So if that game comes out and then they go, also Last of Us Part 3 is coming out in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, like factions, for example, could also be included with this. That could be where we get that. We know it's coming. We don't know what form, but that's another way. And then you could charge full price again for that.
Yeah, that would make sense. But then I wouldn't like monetization on it.
No, because you paid for it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get that having more of a flow with the second game would be a good thing. And if you have a director's cut and the remake and factions all out in the year, you have kind of one cohesive piece. But then I think it would almost be a better route to have all this together, wouldn't it? Like do the Last of Us collection.
Like the Master Chief collection with Halo. Just have everything together.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know what I actually would love is if they like weaved the entire thing together into one long game.
Yeah, I was thinking like that would
be cool. Or like have that as an option.
Yeah.
That'd be something I get excited about.
We'll see. And I can't wait until everything we've said is proven wrong.
Well, we'll see. I love your factions idea, I have to say now.
The second you mentioned that to me last week, it was like 2 minutes later, I was like, that's why when I texted you saying I think it could be a good idea to monetize it.
Yeah.
Straight away I had this idea, like this is how you do it.
Yeah, but like do you think monetization is important to that?
If it is free to play, you need to make your money.
But what if do you not think that sort of structure would work if you just paid up front for the game and there was like these we know there's microtransactions anyway, but
then you'd have to release paid DLC down the line, like.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's sort of all that's sort of everything anyway. What are your just thoughts in general for the next year? Like, do you think all these projects coming out?
Listen, I will play everything. I'm excited for it all.
Because you still haven't played part 2 yet.
No, but I've watched the whole thing.
So you'll watch the whole thing again.
Exactly,
yeah.
I just, because like The Last of Us for me is the narrative first. That's why I watched the game. I didn't play it. All about the narrative. And the fact that it's retreading old ground. If Factions has that narrative, maybe that could be something cool, but it's a lot of stuff we've already seen before. Even the TV shows is something we've seen before.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see some new stuff, but I'm excited. I just like seeing stuff come out.
Yeah, definitely. And like as one of my favorite series, any bit of news about it excites me. So yeah. I know, like, I would rather Naughty Dog focused on a new thing, on either a new IP or part 3, which I believe Neil Druckmann actually. One more thing, Neil Druckmann said, "Oh, we might do part 3 next." I actually probably
Hmm.
should have had that as a header on this, shouldn't I?
Well, he had his arm twisted to make part 2, so.
Well, I think that's something he wanted to do.
Well, he was saying that
He just lied about it.
he'd need an idea.
Yeah. Whereas the fact that he was like so against it, and apparently back then, the fact that he's saying, "Oh, we might," indicates to me that they will.
Yeah.
And for various reasons, I think you kind of have to as well. And I already
Hmm.
have an idea for what that could be.
Part
Which we
3?
might talk about. We might talk, yeah, part 3. We might talk about that next episode. That's in my what's next for The Last of Us video, which I will again link in the description. But yeah, maybe we'll do an episode. You can do your little pitch or something, and we'll
Oh yeah,
go for what we
I'll
can-
think of
what we
something.
do. I like that idea. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that seems like a good place to wrap up. Everybody watching, thank you for joining us. This has been Firefly Chats. We will be back when some more news drops.
Next week, probably.
Hopefully soon. I'd imagine a teaser trailer for the HBO series is kind of coming, and we'll probably get more news over the next little while. So yeah, we'll be back to talk about that. I also have a more general PlayStation podcast that I have a name for, but I've not whipped up a logo yet, so I will keep that close to the chest for now. But you can follow me on Instagram at James T. Keegan, and I'm sure I will announce it there. So once again, this has been Firefly Chats. Thank you so much for watching. Endure and survive, and we will see you next time.